So, 2023. It is a year, and much like every other year that came before it, it's about to end and will just become a relic of the past. And also much like every other year that came before it, we were in no short supply of video games. Believe me when I say that, please, just look at all of this shit. So I thought to celebrate the year end, I decided to do a little bit of a YouTube staple, a tier list of all the games I've played this year. Now just for context, because I am a generous YouTuber, the rules of this tier list are quite simple. We have a total of 6 tiers ranging from S to F. S basically meaning that the games are the cream of the crop, the absolute best that this year had to offer, while F is just shit. And lastly, because this is the most important part, the games that are featured on this tier list are not all necessarily from 2023. My wallet can only take so much abuse before I'm in crippling debt. This will pretty much consist of everything I've played this year that I found the most noteworthy to talk about. I have played an assload more that will not be featured on here, but I'll save that for the end of the video so you guys can give me more watch time. And also, for this special occasion, I also brought on a few fellow creators to voice their opinions on the games that they love / hated of this year. So do the subscribe thing to them, their links will be down in the description below. Also, I'll leave the game store pages down below as well if you want to give them a go for either enjoyment or sharing your own miserable experience with them to strangers on the internet. So, you do you. But any case, let's begin. Are you sick of waiting for the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake? And are you disappointed with everything else Konami does? Then let me direct your attention to this little indie game called No Sun to Worship, which, I can confirm, there really was no sun to worship. It's incredibly sad and emotional. 1 like equals 1 sun. This game was just fucking awesome. I streamed the entire thing on my Twitch page, so that's my shameless plug done for this video. Combining aspects from both Metal Gear and Splinter Cell games, you play as a scuba diver that kills POWs in the fastest time possible to get the best score, all while sporting a damn cool retro art style, fun and challenging gameplay, and slow climbing to make us reminisce about the better times of gaming. So I'm gonna have to give this game an A tier. We're starting off incredibly strong. Fuga Melodies of Steel is a game franchise where a bunch of French furries commits war crimes in a tank. Now, where that would immediately qualify for the S tier, it's not quite hitting it there for me just yet, but I will say that these are probably 2 of the best RPGs I've played in a long time. Sporting fun strategic turn-based battles with a sort of a life sim aspect sprinkle in there to have another Steam tag to its page, to a damn good and engaging story, this franchise has quickly become one of my favorites of all time. I just really wish that there was an English dub, because this game actually started making me use Duolingo and I'm behind on my Japanese lessons. And aside from that one personal nitpick, these games are amazing. And what does amazing start with? A. So both of them go into the A rank. Only a quick little disclaimer here. Please, for the love of all that's good, don't let EDP445 play this game. The Postal series is a franchise that is good at 2 things, being fun and being racist. Thankfully, Postal Brain Damage decided to axe the second feature and decided to crank the fun level up to 100, because this game embraces the silly nature the series has always had, except for the first one, what the hell am I looking at, and took a lot of cues from Doom Eternal, except this time, you can harness the power of piss to vanquish your enemies. That is a power that we all strive to achieve one day. So just for that fucking S tier game, play it now or I'll shove a UFO with dangling testicles in your mailbox.
Starfield is shit, with the only difference being that shit sometimes feels good when it comes out. However, Starfield came out expecting to be critically acclaimed, only for it to be critically shamed, and has left such a mixed opinion amongst gamers that I'm forced to narrow this shit down. Spoiler alert, I'm not very good at that. Combat feels great once you've caved your head into the table hard enough from dealing with the leveling system, companions feel as dry as a rice cake in the sun, and space exploration is so repetitive that you'll be running into the same outpost on different planets. But don't worry guys, the story missions are even worse. Head out on an adventure to find the meaning of the universe and have the ending of your game being that the player loses everything and has to start from the beginning again. No, not New Game Plus. Literally the ending of the story is doing everything again. $170! We probably should have seen this all coming, considering Mr. Skyrim wanted to make a game with such a restrictive aesthetic as NASA punk. I promise I'm really nice to video games, you know, when I have more than one single meal. Oh shit! B tier. As in B for balls.
Now, if you've been following me for a while now, then please stop it creeps me out. But if you've been following me here on YouTube or Twitch or really any other social media you can think of, then you'll know that I'm a die-hard Resident Evil much. So much so, I tend to punish myself. Firstly, Umbrella Corps, Capcom's failed attempt at cashing into the competitive shooter market. Now, whilst yes, there is shooting, I'm more convinced that this game was actually a brutal saw trap too violent to be featured in the movies. Gameplay is stiff, missions are repetitive, and I don't like looking up the ass of a man. We have Snake for that. Overall, it was just a miserable experience. Go watch my video on it to help salvage a little bit more of my sanity. And also, thanks to a viewer of mine sharing some rather interesting information, we're probably gonna be going back to this one real soon. On the other hand, Resident Evil RE-verse was better. Although having a battle pass makes me lose more faith in humanity each day, the game itself was just okay. Sadly, as a game made to celebrate the history of Resident Evil, it kinda fails. Who the fuck wanted to play with the Wolf Squad anyway? But other than that, servers weren't exactly playing very nice. There's only one game mode and only 4 stages, so make with that as you will. Thankfully, at the very least, to get this game you need to buy Resident Evil Village, so that's at least the band-aid on this bullet wound. Also, just like Umbrella Corps, I also made a video going into this game, so if you want more details, go watch that. Now, ooh boy, at the very least, all my frustrations and disappointment immediately went away thanks to the big boy of this year, the Resident Evil 4 remake. What more can I say here that hasn't been? It's such an amazing game and such an amazing remake. Gameplay was perfected, graphics look better than The Last of Us Part 2, and they didn't even need to play golf to achieve it. The amount of content in this game is incredible. Ashley doesn't piss me off in this one, and the Mercenaries is the best that it's ever been. This game was just an absolute masterpiece through and through, and is my personal favorite game of 2023. So with all of that being said, go get it. Don't feed your families and buy this game instead. You're only gonna regret that decision after the fact, so enjoy it in the meantime. So as for my rankings on this section, Umbrella Corps gets an F. I'd rather be infected with the T-virus, that way I know it can end quickly for me. Resident Evil RE-verse was just okay, but all in all, after everything is said and done, it was just mid, so D tier, and Resident Evil 4 Remake, S for sex. But ooh, what is this? You may also notice that on the tier list there's a picture of the other part of Resident Evil 4 on here, the Separate Ways DLC. But as of writing this video, I still haven't beaten it just yet. It's almost like I touched grass. So another fellow creator will share his thoughts on it at the end. So don't touch that remote or I'll come to your house. Cult of the Lamb is what I think Animal Crossing would be if they chose to add the option for ritual sacrifice. I think Nintendo needs to implement that so we can get rid of the furry mob boss. Now, all jokes aside, Cult of the Lamb is what you would get if you mix Animal Crossing with Hades, a roguelite city builder. And without a doubt, this game is amazing. It's not perfect though. There's a lot of things I wish they could have improved upon, like increasing the life expectancy of my villagers. I know that being sick and malnourished isn't fun, but for fuck's sakes, do you see all the shit that I need to deal with? But this game was just an absolute blast to play through, from being a nice and relaxing game the 1 minute to being an action-packed thrill ride of an experience the other. I sunk so many hours into this game in my spare time and on stream, and the best part about this game is the Twitch integration, so I can actually sacrifice my viewers and send them on expeditions that few ever return from alive, only to bring them back later to repeat the cycle. Haha, they love me. But with the awesome soundtrack, in-depth mechanics, and such a cute art style, this game gets an easy A in my books. Now, as funny as a demon wanking, collecting a tampon, and killing literal Nazi shits are, don't let that turn you away from the fact that this is undoubtedly one of the best 3D platformers I played all year. Hellpie is essentially what happens when you mix Super Mario 64 and Spider-Man, except instead of collecting power stars and colorful, vibrant worlds, you collect Viagras in hell. So this game gets an easy A rank, so go ahead and play it. Just a little quick seizure warning to anybody who may be susceptible to epilepsy. Go to this timestamp on the video to skip this part. I was playing this game on what they call the accessibility mode because it is quite literally that intense even for me, but for everybody else, just don't risk it. Alright? Are we good? Alright then, let's start. Post-Void is probably the biggest fever dream I think I've ever played in my entire life. It's a roguelite racing shooter thing. I don't know, I have a gun shooting at walls that look like vagina, so what the hell do you want me to call this? And the goal is to get to the end of each stage to finish the game. If you know what you're doing, then this game can be beaten in like 5 minutes, but for some reason, I was just addicted. It's like my mind was transported to a separate reality where everything was fucked. But the movement and the gameplay and everything was just so much fun. Let me give you a little bit of a scope here. I said you can beat this game in like 5 minutes, right? Well then, I played this game for almost 9 hours and it's $3. So you aren't really breaking the bank. And for a game like this to get me that invested, it gets an S tier.
I'm sure you all have something to say after seeing this game on your screen, but unlike me, you didn't torture John for a month straight just to give your 2 cents. In a nutshell, Minecraft is a game about blocks, and what you can do with them. Fortunately for the crowd of bored people, you can do a lot with them. Unfortunately, for those of us who like being sane, you can do a lot with them. Are you an artist? Go make something pretty. Are you a nerd? Spend hours in creative working on a contraption just to watch it blow up. Are you addicted to adrenaline? Fight the warden. Heck, you can even fight other players if you're sadistic enough.
Right in front of my salad.
Even if you run into an issue with this game, there's a good chance you can find a mod or a data pack to help you with it. Gravestones are a perfect example of this if you're a pussy like me and hate losing your items. None of this is to say that the game is perfect, but it is quite fun. There's not that many other games that can actually appeal to a variety of players. Most games nowadays just appeal to one type of player and call it there. So, for that, I'm gonna give Minecraft an S tier.
Do you have friends? Do you hate them? Well, do I have the game for you? Friends vs. Friends is basically like the uncensored versions of Yu-Gi-Oh! They have guns, and each of these guns are complemented with a bunch of cards that contain different buffs for your character. And let me tell you, this is one of the best competitive shooters I've played in years. From the varied and colorful stages and characters, to each card adding that little extra slice of variety and strategy, to one of the best intros I've seen in any game in years. And on top of that, to its cheap price, I'm gonna give this game an A rank. So you better go out and buy it, or else this rabbit will kill us all. I'm beginning to think that Arcane got so sick of all the praise they've been getting these last few years and wondered what would happen if they fucked up. Now that may seem extremely harsh, and yes, it kinda is. I need to vent some way, right? This is probably the worst game I've played all year. This is essentially a lesser, more live servicey version of something like Far Cry, except with glitched out vampires, bland and repetitive missions, and cutscenes that makes me think Dio decided it would be funny to freeze the world on us at this moment. I do understand that most of the game's shortcomings are mainly due to either Xbox or Bethesda. I don't know which one it actually is. They're big companies, so they mean nothing to me. But still, this game came out, was $70 if you were too proud to use Game Pass, and it shipped like this. And even after months of the game being out, it's still in pretty much the same state as it was before. This game just sucks, plain and simple. Those low player numbers don't lie. F tier. Now, the biggest reason FNAF Ruin is on here is because I'm genuinely impressed with what the funny goat company was able to pull off. Plus, the FNAF movie came out, so the SEO is just gonna love this. But genuinely, whilst Ruin isn't the greatest game to ever come out, I mean, this is the parasite that it's attached to, it's still a good step in the right direction if they want to continue making more free roam FNAF games going forward. The atmosphere I thought was good and spooky, the scares.
Chica? What happened to you? You look awful.
Well, they tried at least, and the few new additions are genuinely appreciated. But overall, the game is just good. Not great, so I guess B tier it goes. Hopefully the next game is gonna cause me to feel the exact same way I do when playing FNAF 4. 2 jump scares away from going into cardiac arrest. I don't know whose bright idea was to take conventional gaming mechanics like shooting and hitting shit and thought to add a beat mechanic to it, but let me tell you right now, it's going to be a battle to marry this person. And who would have thought that the people who made the Evil Within made this? Someone must have really got fed up with all the blood and shit. Hi-Fi Rush is essentially taking the formula of the Devil May Cry series and forces you to show off how rhythmically gifted or ungifted you are. And all that while coupling it to a beautiful damn art style, Prompto from Final Fantasy 15. I think this game is gonna go into the S tier. Just don't get it on Game Pass though. Give these people your money instead. They deserve those funds more than you. Now, if you thought close-range combat was too cringe to mash buttons in rhythm to, then may I present you the other option. BPM is something that I've mentioned a while ago in this video, but for context, take the roguelite gameplay of something like Cult of the Lamb, and then have guns. This game is really fun and addicting. I love the Nordic setting that the game takes place in. It makes me wonder how that one dad is doing. I love the weapons and how everything, even your reloading, is synced to the beat, and this game itself has got some good tunes. Just be prepared to hear them over and over again if you suck in the game like I do. But A tier.
Zoomers and boomers, my name is Slim Bradsky and I'm from the winter wonderland of Sweden. And yes, I do love my meatballs. Now, have you ever seen pixels this beautiful before? I mean, take a close look at this. You see how the 2D sprites mixes with the 3D world, and added in are some gorgeous modern lighting techniques. I mean, it's so beautiful to gaze upon. And then we have the gore. I mean, literally anything can be killed in this game, and it is jam-packed with some pixely red blood, and it is brutal. Now take that amazing enemy feedback and combine it with some of the sickest tunes from Andrew Halsholt that you have ever heard, and you got the perfect ingredients for an amazing boomer shooter. And that, my friends, is exactly what Nightmare Reaper does. Hence, this game from 2022 that I didn't put on my hands until 2023 is one of the best games I have played all this year. And I cannot recommend you enough to grind through its 90+ levels and play with the bazillion weapons, all while headbanging to the sick tunes in this S tier game.
I played a ton of great games this year, but for me, absolute S rank, the best of the best, The Saboteur. Absolutely amazing game, a huge, fun, open world sandbox to play in. Between the campy, fun, pulpy nature of the whole game, the atmosphere of it is absolutely incredible. The dialogue's absolutely amazing. It's funny, it's campy as hell when it needs to be, serious and dramatic. Granted, I might be a little biased playing a badass Irishman who hates the British.
Fuck you. Limey bastard.
But jokes aside, incredible game, awesome fun, absolutely amazing ending and great swan song for pandemic games to go out on. Granted, it's a 2009 game, so you got your odd jank here and there, but don't let that deter you in the slightest from what is absolutely one of the best games of all time, an absolutely underrated masterpiece.
I loved Fear and I loved Titanfall. Do you know what that means? Make them fuck, and the resulting spawn will be Trepang 2. This game was absolutely fire, from the smooth slow motion gunplay, to the weapons, to the overall setting and enemies, and the red shoes from TikTok. This game is something that us Fear and Titanfall fans needed all these years later. So, I wish and Team 17 the best of luck if they continue onwards with this. Just please learn how to count, because I can't seem to find Trepang 1. So this game gets an A tier. Thank you so much to one of my best buddies, Notorious, for gifting me this game. I didn't know having a panic attack came at a price. As a young one, I yearn to relive the good old days of the best tactical shooter I think I've ever played, SWAT 4. So Ready or Not is the game I needed to scratch that itch. And can I just say this? This game is scarier than any horror game me and you have ever played. I don't care what you think. This This is child's play. But this, a fucking terrorist that can end you and your entire squad with 2 bullets, that can attack you from out of nowhere without warning, is one of the most terrifying shit I've ever experienced in a game, and I will not be convinced otherwise. But with all of that heart attack out of the way, the game is just excellent. From the in-depth mechanics, to the shooting, to the pepper spraying of innocent civilians because you were bored. This game is something that needs to be experienced by anybody who wants that great adrenaline rush of planning everything meticulously to get your mission done with the least amount of casualties as possible. And then needing to restart because either you or one of your teammates fucked up, so A tier, I guess. Lies of P makes me A. Wonder what the devs were smoking when they thought to mix Pinocchio with Dark Souls, and B. Wonder what other fairy tales should be adapted into this format. But besides all of that, oh my goodness, this is one of the best Souls-inspired games I've played in my life. Though, I'm not sure calling it a Souls-inspired game is 100% right. The game I'm thinking of is a little bit more British than that, and I'm not quite sure what it was called. But my goodness, everything from the world exploration, enemy designs, combat, and everything about this game kicks ass. It's got the right mixture of difficulty and fairness to the combat, so many different ways that you can customize your playstyle, and Robert Pattinson playing as an ex-plank of wood with the arm from Sekiro. This game is just awesome, and it's something that you all need to give a go. Unless you have something against a boy whose story started out with him killing a cricket with a hammer and getting his father arrested for child abuse, so then maybe just skip it. But for the rest of us, A tier.
What was something I played a lot in 2023? Wobbly Life. Now this game is still in early access and is not perfect. There are the occasional bugs, and especially with the ragdoll aspect, there could be some glitches, which I think is just part of the experience almost. Also, with it being so open world, sometimes it can feel a little directionless. That being said though, this game is some of the most silly, genuine fun I've had in a while. There is so much to discover and so many little Easter eggs to collect. A ton of missions to find that you just wouldn't expect, with jobs like doing a pizza delivery to a house. Okay, normal. But then the next moment, you might be shrunk in a scientist's lab, finding a baby spider for its mom, earning you a knitted sweater that you could wear around. Not as normal. Also, this game supports single player, online co-op, and also couch split screen co-op, which is something that not enough games allow you to do. All in all, I rate Wobbly Life an A tier game. Some flaws, but overall an amazing experience, and one you should definitely pick up.
X looks like this to me, so here, subscribe to this guy's channel because I can't seem to play this again. Now, Slayer's X is a very heartwarming tale. A tale of a blonde person who refuses to swear, piss and shit jokes abundant, and the most important thing to me personally, a game that warmed up to me the more I played it. Yes, Slayer's X, if you remember from this video again, was a game that just wasn't clicking with me initially. I don't know why, the inner machinations of my mind is even an enigma to me, but the more I kept playing, it just hit me like a ton of bricks, and I just started loving every single second of the game. From the unique weapon designs, to the retro art style, to the emo music, this game was just a massive blast to play through. And to think this game is a spin-off of a game where you essentially play as a 90s Discord mod. Everything could only realistically go up from there, so this gets an A tier. Definitely a very late entry onto this list because I've only started playing it a month ago, but already this N64 inspired 3D platformer is just so much fun. And one of the biggest reasons because of that is the movement. You have so many options to work with here in order to explore these jungle gym style stages. And you even get the satisfaction of finding some of these movement abilities by just experimenting with what you already have unlocked. I have close to zero idea what the hell is actually going on in this game, but that doesn't matter. The gameplay and exploration carries it tenfold. That, and the goat has a thick ass, so it managed to keep my attention for the entirety of my playthrough. And what does ass start with? A. So there you go. Have fun. Risk of Rain 2 was always a game I've known about, but it wasn't until earlier this year that my best buddy The Beak forcefully gifted it to me that I actually ended up finding out what I was missing out on all this time. Would you believe me when I show you the footage on screen right here that this is probably one of the most relaxing games I've ever played? Yeah, despite causing interstellar levels of genocide with the infinite ammo guns and the abilities that make you look like you escaped a correctional institution, this is just such a calming game to sit down and play, and part of that's mostly because you can just play this game on autopilot, look at the pretty colors, and just vibe with the game's awesome soundtrack, either alone or with a bunch of friends to just chat shit to in a Discord call. This game, it's all good in my books. A tier.
We've got limited time. Ready, set, start. Century Age of Ashes is a third-person dogfighting simulator where you get to fight on dragons. Real dragons. It's a free-to-play game that you can on Steam. It's got tight controls, an active online PvP community, fun skins, and fast matches. Combat and flying feel very fun, intense, and there's a very satisfying boost mechanic that encourages specific flight paths in the game. However, I feel like there could be more diversity in the flight mechanics and combat mechanics. This could include melee strikes or grappling. I don't know, just name a few. I really enjoy the game, and while its scope is limited, the developers have really polished what they have. In the future, I would like to see maybe more mechanics for flying and a single-player campaign. I'm going to go B tier. Time!
Now this may come as a shock to you, but for all the years I've actually played the Doom games, I've never finished them except for Doom 3 and 2016. So if you want to know what I think about those two games, well then wait for a full video on them, so go cry about it. But I decided this year to change all of that because I pretty much finished all of them thanks to the ports released on the PS4. So starting with Doom 1, I mean, it's a classic. It had more installs than the newly released Windows OS, so that goes to show you how a small at the time indie product was able to outsell the very operating system it later would run on. But yeah, even so, the game still holds up very well even to this day, and there's a reason why a shitload of indie projects takes inspiration from it. Doom 2, on the other hand, oh boy, it would seem like I'm the poster boy of having controversial takes on beloved first-person shooters. Whilst Doom 2 was still a great time on the surface, I just think it's a worse off map pack than the original game, with its only saving grace being that the fact that this is where the best shotgun of all time made its debut. And whereas the gameplay is still excellent, the levels surrounding this game, what the fuck were they thinking? Having odd layouts to them just being a huge pain in the ass to navigate through, this is primarily what broke the game for me, and I'm just sorry, I just didn't have any fun playing Doom 2. I thought it was really mid. I'll be prepared in that case to turn to that cop from the beginning of Resident Evil 4 because nothing's gonna change my mind on the topic. Amping things back up again, thankfully, we have Doom 64, and it's a way better game in comparison. Adding an entirely overhauled graphic style and larger focus on horror, this game was just such a breath of fresh air. It takes the level structure from Doom 1 and changes things up so much where it can stand on its own. But for our last game, oh my goodness, Doom Eternal is one of my favorite shooters of all time. It took everything that made Doom 2016 great and just shot everything all the way up to Mars, which later got obliterated. From the movement to the guns to the add-ons you get for said guns that make those guns even better than the guns that those guns were before, to the design of the level. It's my favorite Animal Crossing DLC for that reason. This game is just awesome. The only real complaint I do have with it is I think that the game goes on a little bit too long for my liking, but aside from that one little nitpick, this game is just like getting laid, except you don't need to go through the hassle of finding a woman to do it with. So my rankings for these games would be as followed. S tier for Doom 1 because it's a classic, D tier for Doom 2, prepare to overdose on copium bozos, and A tier for Doom 64, it's so good it skipped 62 other games, and an S tier for Doom Eternal. Much like the Doom games, I've always played the Quake series here and there, but only this year have I finally committed myself to completing them. Except for Quake 4, I'm still busy with that one. But what I can say is Quake 1 absolute masterpiece. This is the era of FPS games that I love the most. I love the guns, I love the HP Lovecraft theme environments, and I love the designs of the enemies. It's all just great. Quake 2 might get a bad rap here and there, but I couldn't disagree with the haters more. I actually like the switch to a more sci-fi oriented setting. Only problem I have with this one is the way how missions are structured. I get lost so frequently in this game, it's really nauseating, so that's why I'm glad the remaster fixes this issue. And Quake 3, whilst not being a single-player game by design, what single-player content there is still super fun, with you just experiencing how good the combat feels against bots. And just look at this little dude over here, he's adorable. So for my rankings on these games, Quake 1 and 3 gets an easy S tier, where I think Quake 2 goes a little bit lower to an A tier, because I don't like how I need to be a cave charter to just know where I'm going. But it was still a great time. If Umbrella Corps wasn't enough proof that I have masochistic tendencies, then me going through every COD campaign starting from Modern Warfare 2019 should quell any doubt. Yes, in my infinite wisdom, I decided to go through the COD campaigns. No reason in particular, I just tend to get really bad ideas when I'm bored. So starting with Modern Warfare 2019, I'm actually quite surprised how much I liked it. It's nothing really too mind-blowing, but I liked the more darker and serious tone of the plot. And need I say more about the clearing house mission? It was awesome. Black Ops Cold War, on the other hand, it's really just okay. I do like some of the ideas and directions that the storyline and missions went to make it stand out a little bit more, but I just thought it was okay. It just doesn't really hold a candle to the first two Black Ops games whatsoever. Vanguard? What the fuck happened here? This is literally if the Wolfenstein games were trying to suck. The missions are so boring and repetitive. The gameplay wasn't anything special even with the character-specific abilities that you can use, and the story feel like it's trying to be Metal Gear, but in length only. Thankfully, things got way better again in 2022's Modern Warfare 2. The story I thought followed on nicely from the first game. It was good to see the boys back together, and I thought some of the gameplay twists like the survival sections, like that one mission with soap in the town and the chase mission with gas, was top notch. I find it quite ironic that the less the game felt like Call of Duty, the more I ended up liking it. And it kinda sucks to see that Modern Warfare 3 kinda shat the bed with its campaign. So as for the ranks, I'm gonna give a comfy A tier to the Modern Warfare games, our very first C tier to the just extremely okay Cold War, and a deserved F tier to Vanguard.
Team Fortress 2, a game released in 2007 that has still managed to stay relevant and outlive Overwatch twice. It is no surprise either, the game is amazing, it is so much fun. What's cool about it is the community is very broad, from just normal players to source filmmaker shitposters, for better or worse.
Now, Perry will vomit down your throat.
The game also has many different playstyles. You can of course be an absolute sweatlord trying your ass off to win and make everyone's day a living hell. Or you can take a more casual approach and try out other weapons and tactics that don't fall under the meta. I tend to fall in the latter category, jumping around and smacking people with a shovel. Overall, this game still continues to be one of the most played games on Steam, and if you are a fan of hero shooters or just shooters in general, I highly recommend you pick this up. It's free on Steam. S tier.
I tend to play a lot of shooters, horror games, and watch a lot of true crime stuff on YouTube, and as much as I love those kinds of media, I can't help but to say it does kind of bring down my mood a little bit. But my goodness, I did not know that the levity that I needed lied with a little girl who was indecisive about her headwear. A Hat in Time is just such a fun, light-hearted game where you can disrupt the mafia, become a film critic, sell your soul to the devil. Wait, what? All while playing through one of the most varied and best controlling 3D platformers I've ever played in my entire life. This game had me smiling from ear to ear the entire time. It was just so charming and silly, I just couldn't help myself. I'm gonna give it an A rank on this list because it does kind of lose steam once you've seen and done everything, but this was honestly the mood booster that I desperately needed. I loved this game. Gotham Knights does only one thing, and only one thing right. It reminds us of how good we used to have it. I find it ironic that a game in the Batman universe makes me feel like Spider-Man. Yeah, that's it. This game makes me feel like the hero from the opposite studio. I don't know how you do that, and on top of that, I don't know how you made it even worse. Oh, never mind, I have two words that might make a little bit of sense. Live service. Now, whereas this game isn't exactly live service, unlike 2020's Avengers game, it does somewhat suffer from the same shit like needing to grind and craft stuff to get better loot, but besides that, the combat is also just really a pointless and brain-numbing button masher. And I'm sad to say, that is probably the best part of the game. The graphics do not look anything close to something like Arkham Knight. This is the next generation, remember? Gotham is so boring and empty, and traversing it is even worse. The missions just aren't that interesting at all, and the story might be enjoyable, but to experience any of it, you need to go through all of this shit first. No thanks. If a game from 2009 can still give me the exact same thrills and fun 14 years later, whereas a shiny next generation spin-off can't, I have no more hope left. This game gets a hard D tier. Do I even need to explain this part? Anybody who knows me well enough knows I love two things: Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and guns. So what happens when you put those two elements together? Well then, have a look at this. Yeah, this game gets a solid S tier. If it wasn't for a man having stamps tattooed on his ass, this would be my personal favorite game of the year. Plus, to further prove to you my love for this game, I embrace my virginity and S ranks everything, including the New Game Plus, as well as got all the achievements on it on Steam, and I plan to do that again when this game gets released on Game Pass. Vitamin D deficiency is like a drug to me. The fact that Capcom was able to release one of the best games of the year and the most disappointing one at the same time is really a skill I have to commend. But oh my goodness, you know what this game reminds me of on the base gameplay level? Lost Planet 2. Yeah, look at this, they look the exact same. But this one was better. Exoprimal primarily serves two purposes to me. One, aside from something like Monster Hunter, Capcom should really stop focusing on multiplayer-only games, especially if they're gonna handle it like this. And two, where the hell is my Dino Crisis remake, you assholes? Now, as a game itself, Exoprimal is just mid at best. It's a massive shooting gallery where you reenact dinosaur extinction with the Second Amendment, wearing different kinds of Power Rangers armor to get the job done. And I will say, though, that it is a unique spin on PvE and PvP, with it essentially being a race to see who can finish objectives as fast as possible. But then you realize one of the objectives is literally pushing a payload to the end of the mission, which gives me Overwatch vibes. And judging how we know how that game is, that's not really something any game should try to be associated with. So this game goes into the D tier. It is a dinosaur game after all. A game that is developed by the same exact people who made Rollerdrome, except where on the one side, you have the equivalent to Tony Hawk and Mad Max, whereas here, we have Tony Hawk mixed with Adventure Time. So I'll let you decide which one you like the most. This game is a rather special case to me. It was the very first video I released this year, so go have a look. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. And it also proves to me that you can have a damn good skateboarding game without the 2-minute timers and a bunch of objectives in these large 3D environments. It proves that you can ditch the Z-axis and watch your character ragdoll when you fuck up, while speedrunning through these beautiful as hell environments. While I didn't go back to this game since completing that initial video, I can say that I had a shit ton of fun with it because it was just that fun and addicting. So let's slap it on here at the A rank. I am the shit stain on the mattress of the boomer shooter community for this. Yes, after OlliOlli World, this was one of the games I went through. And after hearing so many good things about this game, I figured that now it was my turn to give it a go. Little did I know that for how much I love boomer shooters, there will always be bad apples. And so sorry to say, everyone, I did not like this game as much as most people did. From the stages just being too repetitive to those damn Nexus points taking away all the challenge and fun the game initially could have had, to those damn shops that lock away cool guns and movement abilities that would have been more fun if you could just unlock them as you play. You know, like other boomer shooters do. This game is just one of the most mid things I've played this entire year. It's not terrible though. I love the graphics and the gunplay is fun, so you can at the very least say it excels in two of the most important parts, but to me, that wasn't nearly enough. And revisiting it today to get footage for this video, my opinion still hasn't changed. So guess what? It goes into the D tier. Maybe one day I'll see the love. Maybe one day. A very fun fact about me is that I need to be in a certain mood to play a game. Sometimes a game is just too special for me to just play it like I'd play any other game, but even when I am in that mood, I need to make sure everything is perfect so I can really appreciate every single moment of what I'm playing. Basically, I'm very full of shit, I know. And to give you some context to this, my favorite game of all time is Undertale. I'm not telling you why on this video, so wait for my hour-long video essay coming whenever Deltarune Chapter 7 releases. And upon finishing the game for the first time in late 2018, Toby Fox must have realized me specifically and how much I wanted more, and literally released Deltarune a week after I beat Undertale. The timing was extremely immaculate, and I absolutely loved it. From the combat, to the characters, to the plot, to the humor, it's a game I love revisiting from time to time just to get a good laugh, and it's also a short one at that. Now after that, back in September of 2021, Toby Fox released the long-awaited follow-up to the game, and everybody loved it. But to me, I waited 2 years and then played it on stream. I am a very patient man. Yes, I've always desperately wanted to play it. I avoided spoilers to the game like the Beak avoids God of War Ragnarok spoilers. And when the time was right, when all the planets aligned, I finally decided to stream my entire experience live with everyone. And oh my fucking goodness, the 2 years was well worth the wait. I loved this game as much as I loved the first chapter. Loading it up after the 5 years since I've played the original felt like seeing old friends again I haven't spoken to in years. Except these ones I don't hate. The new environments, scenarios, and characters were all such a treat to experience, and I was smiling and laughing and enjoying every single second of the game live with everybody. Toby Fox doesn't really tend to miss with his games, and you can bet your ass when Chapter 3 releases, I'm gonna be on that shit day... I don't know, I've been patient for this long, right? So look forward to my stream when Silk Song comes out. But until then, Chapter 2 gets an S tier. Who would have thought that locking yourself in a bunker with this creature, all while you're French, would make for one of the best horror games I've ever played? Amnesia the Bunker probably has the best setting and the best gameplay in the entire series. Everything in this game was perfected, from the atmosphere to the environment to actually making a scary game that gives you literal weapons but only gives you a handful of opportunities to use them because of the scarce supplies, to even the smallest thing like sound being such a huge addition to the gameplay, where every single thing that you do, from running to breaking shit to just normally progressing, meaning that it could lead to your death. And oh boy, don't even get me started on that generator. This game creates such a huge feeling of anxiety because you'll have all these different factors to keep in mind, all while trying to get each and every single objective done at the same time. And it never lets up. It's brilliant. It's become my favorite Amnesia game in the entire franchise for a reason. So for that, this game gets a massive S tier. Just fuck that final boss though, that thing can eat me. No, not like that! As 2022 was ending, I've released my video on the Outlast Trials beta, and thank you all so much for the support on that video. But as I was wrapping up with that beta, I was extremely skeptical but at the same time hopeful that if they were able to iron out all of the issues I had with the beta, then Trials could potentially be one of the best Outlast games in the entire franchise. And I'm happy to report, Yes. Oh fuck yes, this game is. Everything, the atmosphere, the environments, the enemies, the mechanics are all top notch in this game. Whereas Outlast 1 and 2 were all just confined to a single location with the tried and true formula of hiding away from enemies and going to the next location in order to finish the game, Outlast transports so many different locations, all with differing objectives, from frying the shit out of a snitch or burning children in a deadly funfair ride to sawing the legs off of a naked man hanging from a cross. Yeah, this game is still pretty fucked up. All while you have so many additional gameplay mechanics for each mission. From throwing someone with the brick to having rigs that can buff you and your teammates, it's all such a good time. Hell, the newest update even lets you play chess. I suck at playing chess. And as for Outlast 2, the game is still good, and there's graphic fake childbirth at the end of the game, so if you wanted to score me, good job, here's a gold star. So for Outlast Trials, this gets an easy S tier, and for Outlast 2, let's plop it here in the B tier. I can be a real cop-out YouTuber and just tell you to go watch my latest video I made on this game, but yeah, I'm just gonna go do that, go watch it. But before you do, if you want a little bit of an abridged summary, the gameplay was fine, but the missions were repetitive, the game ran like a constipated marathon runner, it was a literal grindhouse just to unlock the cooler shit like guns and swag, and the content was just lacking with there only being like 8 missions, and on top of that, the connection issues that will just tell you and your friends to piss off after an hour of trying to load into a match. Yeah, this is a D tier game. If you want to have more info, just have a look at my latest video. Oh well, here we are. The series of all time. Now, this may be a very controversial take to everybody watching this. I don't really like these games. Oh, it isn't? Oh, that's good. I was starting to feel lonely and isolated. Garden of Banban does one thing and only one thing right. It bursts speedrunners. The first game was nothing more than a free 10-minute walking simulator. The second game is not a free 10-minute walking simulator, but is more like an hour-and-a-half walking simulator with brain-dead puzzles and voice actors who sound like they're busy dying inside with every sentence. The third game being a 2-hour, if you're cringe, walking simulator with unnecessary lore dumps, a relatively decent puzzle that was just ripped off from Resident Evil 7, and a boss fight that you can literally beat in 3 minutes. And Garden of Banban 4 will satiate the needs of kangaroo foot fetishes. These games are probably the most cash-grabbiest games that I've ever played, and for fuck's sakes, there's still 2 more coming out. And you know what upsets me about that? I'm going to have to marathon every single one of the games in this franchise until it decides to end. It's like my own little purgatory where there is no escapes. All of these games get an F tier, and let's just finish this entire thing off. The Hello Neighbor series is something that I've played through for a video I was planning to make earlier this year, and yeah, that just didn't end up happening. But it probably still will, because these assholes just seem to be milking this series for all that it's worth. But to give you guys just a little taste of what I've experienced, the original game is essentially trying to be Half-Life with a shit ton of unnecessary physics-based puzzles, all while this old fart just touches you and throws you out of the house. Extremely spooky. Hello Neighbor Hide and Seek is pretty much the same game, except now you're on a drug trip where your brother chases you around in a fursuit. Slightly spooky. Secret Neighbor is basically a mid-version of Dead by Daylight. Not very spooky. And Hello Neighbor 2, it was alright. I didn't hate it, except when the game told me that I played enough video games for the day and locked me out of being able to finish it because a key item of mine despawned into the ether. Infuriatingly spooky. So to end off my list, I'm going to give Hello Neighbor 1 and Hide and Seek an F tier, Secret Neighbor a D tier, and because it felt like someone wasn't on hallucinogenics when making the second game, Hello Neighbor 2 gets a nice comfy C tier. Maybe one day my video on this franchise will come out, but not now. I still need to play the rest of the games in this franchise before I'm eligible. Yay me. So now to finish this entire tier list off,
For $9.99, Separate Ways offers a fun and engaging campaign with lots of replayability as well as new things to explore. Not only do we get to spend more time with Ada and Lewis, but we also get to see the remake's reimagined look for Wesker, who is played by Craig Bernatowski. While I was skeptical at first, he did a great job in making Wesker a deliciously evil dickhead, which was entertaining to say the least. The one bad thing is that the button prompts sometimes don't work, which can be horrific during speedrunning on harder difficulties. Taking survival horror to the next level, huh? Overall, a great and concise campaign that will leave you wanting more, which means unlocking more weapons, stat boosters, and the limited ammo rocket launcher. Resident Evil Several Ways gets an S rank.
Hey, nice to see you again. It's been what, like 40 minutes? Yeah, it goes without saying, this is the longest video I think I've ever made in this channel's entire history. So for everybody who's still here watching, thank you all so much. The watch time's going to be insane. So as I've mentioned in the beginning of this video, there is a list right here that I made. Look, it's paper. That means it's fancier than normal. Of all the other games that I played this year that I don't really feel like I've had enough time to add to this list or really had all that much to say in this little short amount of time. So the list goes as followed. Lethal Company, RoboQuest, The Chameleon, Chop Goblins, Rogue Trooper Redux, Sinner's Sacrifice for Redemption, Clive and Wrench, Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, Salt and Sanctuary, Signalis, Vampire Survivors, Vampire Hunters, Celeste, Gunfire Reborn, I can't speak, Tinykin, Deathloop, Limbo, High on Life, Serious Sam, Siberian Mayhem, Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, Metal Hellsinger, Gungrave Gore, Shadow Warrior 1, 2, and 3, Warlong Fallen Dynasty, Beyond Sunset, H-Rod, Bolt Gun, Deep Rock Galactic, Gunhead, Blue Fire, Disney Speedstorm, Sable, fuck me, I can't speak, Raze, Golden Light, Monstrum, No More Heroes 3, BattleBit Remaster, Black Mesa, Herald of Havoc, The Callisto Protocol, Core Keeper, Sons of the Forest, and Hogwarts Legacy. That is a lot of freaking games, and hopefully one day I'll be able to cover all of them in equal amount of detail, maybe like a discussion video like I did earlier this year. And also a huge special thanks to everybody who decided to join me on this video, and here they are as followed: Zenny, Jatina Roni, Slim Bradskis, Liam Talks, The Suited Bird, Heffelmeyer, Cheeto Head, and Aki Dave. Goodness me, I nearly said there was more than there actually was. Any case, as I've told you guys in the beginning, their links will be down in the description below. Please go give them support, and thank you guys once again for joining on this video. It was awesome to have you guys on here, and seeing that this is the last video I'm going to be making for 2023, I want to give you guys all a massive thank you as well, because so much stuff has happened this year. It's fucking insane. On the more, I don't know if this is I don't know how to explain this. I'm sorry if it comes off worse than it is. This year is the first year I actually managed This year I actually managed to get my monetization, my very first YouTube paycheck, which is fucking insane. Thank you all so much. It all means the absolute world to me. Also, on top of that, all of the support that I've been getting on these videos since OlliOlli World. Even though freaking Prodeus is my most hated video, that's perfectly fine. Thank you all so much for watching that thing. It is insane, the amount of views these videos have gotten, and also joining me on different forays into content, like the Resident Evil RE-verse video, the Umbrella Corps video, everything else that came after that. Everything. Just thank you all so much for the support on that video. And on top of that, this year I've reached a goal that I didn't think I was going to, but thanks to you guys, thanks to all the support, thanks to you guys, this is all thanks to you guys. Let me just reiterate that and emphasize that. We finally hit 2,000 subscribers. So you guys were able to help me double my subscriber count from last year, and that is insane. That is absolutely, I didn't think that we were gonna grow so fast again, but thank you so much to everybody who subscribed. Thank you all so much for the likes, the comments, everything. You guys mean the absolute world to me. Hell, even this year, back on different forays of content, I did a little bit of a short-lived cycle when it came down to making shorts. So hopefully I'll be able to get back into that, and hopefully more frequently I'll be able to stream again. Now that this video's out of the way, that's probably what I'm gonna be focusing on for the rest of 2023, while you guys are waiting for this thing. But again, thank you all so much for all the support. Thank you guys all so much for everything. Wouldn't be here if it wasn't without you guys. And yeah, since this is probably coming out close to the end of the year, if it comes out before Christmas, New Year, whenever this is, it's still end of November while I'm recording this. But again, thank you all so much. Means the world to me. I've been John from a happy. I am John from a happy right now, but I've been John from the channel with a freakishly long name. And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays for whatever you guys celebrate, and I will see you guys next year in 2024. Stay safe and Goodbye!